this module, Drug Safety Management. This module explains how a drug safety function actually operates day to day, from the moment a suspected adverse reaction is received to the point it is submitted, aggregated, and governed. It builds practical skill in case validity, seriousness, expectedness, causality, coding, narrative writing, and reporting timelines. Learning outcomes describe the end-to-end individual case safety report lifecycle and explain the roles that make up a functioning drug safety department. Apply case validity, seriousness, and expectedness criteria to individual reports and justify each decision against the reference safety information. Perform structured causality assessment using the WHO UMC system and the Naranjo Adverse Drug Reaction Probability Scale on worked cases. Code adverse events with MedDore and medicinal products with WHO drug, following recognized term selection conventions and hierarchy levels. The drug safety function, scope and structure. A drug safety function collects, assesses, codes, reports, and monitors safety data across a product's development and its marketed life. Typical teams cover case processing, medical review, aggregate reporting, signal management, safety systems, and pharmacovigilance quality and compliance. The marketing authorization holder remains accountable even where case processing is outsourced to a contract research organization or an affiliate. GVP module I sets out expectations for pharmacovigilance systems and their quality systems, including written procedures and trained personnel. The ICSR life cycle from receipt to submission. Receipt and logging. The case arrives from a patient, healthcare professional, study, publication, licensing partner, regulator, or company website. Validity check, duplicate search and triage for seriousness, then registration in the safety database with a unique case identifier. Data entry captures patient details, suspect and concomitant products, event terms, dates, outcome, laboratory results, and reporter information. Coding with MedDRA and WHO drug, narrative writing, then medical review of seriousness, expectedness, causality, and overall case coherence. Case intake, validity, and triage. A valid ICSR needs 4 minimum criteria: an identifiable reporter, an identifiable patient, a suspect medicinal product, and a suspect adverse reaction. If any one criterion is missing, the report is incomplete, so it is tracked and followed up rather than submitted as a case. Sources include spontaneous reports, medical information calls, clinical trials, published literature, patient support programs, market research, and digital channels. Duplicate checking before data entry stops the same patient being counted twice in databases. Aggregate reports and signal detection outputs. Expedited reporting, Day 0 and the 15-day clock. Day 0 is the date any personnel of the marketing authorization holder first receive information that meets the 4 minimum criteria. That includes contractors, medical representatives, and affiliates, and it counts even when the information arrives at a weekend or a public holiday. In the EU, serious reports go to UDRA vigilance within 15 days, and non-serious reports occurring in the EEA within 90 days. Clinical trial SUSARs that are fatal or life-threatening go within 7 calendar days, with follow-up in a further 8 days. Other SUSARs within 15 days. Assessing seriousness, a worked decision. Serious means death, life-threatening, requiring or prolonging inpatient hospitalization, persistent or significant disability or incapacity, or a congenital anomaly. Important medical events also qualify where they jeopardize the patient and may require intervention to prevent one of those listed outcomes. Seriousness is a regulatory classification about outcome, while severity describes intensity, so a severe headache can still be non-serious. Seriousness drives the reporting clock, so triage applies the criteria before any full medical review has been completed. Expectedness and reference safety information. Expectedness compares the reported reaction against the reference safety information that applies to that product in that regulatory context. For marketed products in the EU, the reference is usually the summary of product characteristics, and companies also maintain a company core data sheet. The company core safety information inside that core data sheet supports consistent global expectedness decisions, particularly for aggregate reports. An event is unexpected if it is not listed, or if it is more specific or more severe than the term that is listed. Causality assessment, the WHO UMC system. The WHO UMC system uses 6 categories: certain, probable, likely, possible, unlikely, conditional, unclassified, and unassessable, unclassifiable. Assessment weighs time relationship, pharmacological plausibility, de-challenge, re-challenge, alternative explanations, and whether the event was objectively confirmed. Certain requires a plausible time relationship, a definitive response on withdrawal, and usually a satisfactory positive re-challenge. Possible is used where the time relationship is reasonable, but other medicines or the underlying disease could also explain the event. Causality assessment, the Naranjo scale. The Naranjo Adverse Drug Reaction Probability Scale asks 10 questions and converts the answers into a single numerical score. Questions cover previous reports, timing, de-challenge, re-challenge, alternative causes, placebo response, drug levels, dose relationship, prior exposure, and objective confirmation. Score bands are definite at 9 or more, probable at 5 to 8, possible at 1 to 4, and doubtful at 0. The scale adds reproducibility and an audit trail, which helps with training, moderation between assessors, and defending a decision later. Coding with MEDRA and JODRUG. MEDRA has 5 hierarchy levels: system organ class, high-level group term, high-level term, preferred term, and lowest level term. Data is entered at lowest level term to stay close to the reporter's own words, then analysed and exchanged at preferred term. Each preferred term has one primary system organ class for analysis, although terms are multi-axial and can appear under several classes. The MSSO releases MEDRA twice a year, in March and September, so version control and any recoding decisions must be documented. Writing a clear case narrative. The narrative tells the case story in a logical order so that a reader can follow it without opening the safety database. A workable structure is patient description, relevant history, suspect therapy with dates and doses, event onset, treatment given, outcome and assessment. Use only the factual information supplied by the reporter, keep tense and units consistent, and avoid speculation or promotional wording. State de-challenge and re-challenge explicitly, and say plainly when information is unknown rather than leaving a silent gap. Periodic reporting, PSUR, PBRER, and DSUR. Periodic reports step back from single cases and present interval and cumulative safety data with an integrated evaluation of benefit and risk. The PSUR is prepared in the Periodic Benefit Risk Evaluation Report format of ICH E2CR2 and is addressed by GVP Module 7. The data lock point fixes the cutoff for data included, and the report is written and submitted to a defined timetable after that point. In the EU, the PSUR single assessment procedure produces one assessment for products containing the same active substance. Safety databases and E2BR3 submission. A validated safety database holds the cases, generates regulatory outputs, and provides the audit trail that inspectors expect to be able to follow. ICSRs are exchanged electronically using the ICH E2B standard, with the current implementation being E2BR3 built on the HL7 ICSR message. Pharmacovigilance is the EU database for suspected adverse reaction reports, managed by the EMA, with EVDAS used for signal detection. FAERS is the FDA Adverse Event Database, and Vigibase is the WHO global database maintained by the Uppsala Monitoring Centre. Literature screening, reconciliation, and compliance. Marketing authorization holders are expected to screen widely used reference databases, such as Medline, or Embase no less frequently than once a week. A documented search strategy, dated screening records, and recorded reasons for exclusion turn literature screening into an inspectable process. For a literature case, Day 0 is awareness of a publication containing the 4 minimum criteria for a valid report. Reconciliation compares pharmacovigilance records against other sources such as medical information, quality complaints, licensing partners, and clinical operations. The QPPV, the PSMF, and safety governance. The qualified person responsible for pharmacovigilance establishes and maintains the pharmacovigilance system and is named in the master file. An EU QPPV must reside and operate in the EU or EEA and be permanently and continuously available to the competent authority. The UK requires a UK QPPV or a national contact person for pharmacovigilance, where the QPPV is based outside the United Kingdom. The Pharmacovigilance System Master File, covered by GVP Module 2, describes the system and must be current whenever the regulator asks for it. That completes this module. The key takeaways and suggested further reading are summarized on the slide. The full references for this module are listed on the slide for your further reading.